Undrafted free agents. The Broncos have brought in 13 undrafted free agents. I'm just going to go down the list here. It is on the bottom of the ticker there. But wide receiver Joaquin Davis from North Carolina Central. Wide receiver Jerjuan Newton from Toledo. Wide receiver Courtney Jackson from Arkansas State. The offensive lineman Marquise Cox from Kentucky. Xavier Truss from Georgia. Fun one to watch. Clay Webb, Jacksonville State. We're not going to use his nickname on this show. And Joe Machowski from Oklahoma State. One D lineman, Christian Dowell from UT Martin. Outside linebacker in Johnny Walker from Missouri. Two other linebackers, J.B. Brown from Kansas and Kareem Reed from Utah. And a couple of corners, Jaden Robinson from Oregon State, go Beavs, and Kendall Bowler from Florida A&M. Bri, the Broncos usually have one undrafted free agent make the team every year, and it's a big thing. And they've had a long-standing history of undrafted success. Rod Smith, Chris Harris Jr., just to name a couple off the top, Philip Lindsay. But I want to know, from your standpoint, which of these undrafted free agents do you love that the Broncos brought in, and which one do you see making the roster? Only one.
Okay. Well, I feel like you're saying that like oftentimes they do. I think it's something crazy. Like the 20 of the last 21 seasons, the Broncos have had an undrafted free agent make the roster. It's yeah, I'll keep it short. I think if I had to make a bet, it's going to be one of the offensive linemen for sure. It's pretty easy to see. It's probably Webb because of his versatility and his pedigree. The needs of the Broncos line up perfectly here, right? They're missing their journeyman offensive lineman who can just plug and play. I think Webb is physically and technically ahead of most of the pack for providing O-line backup and depth. He'll stick if he's got what it takes in pass protection, but I love how they're loading up here in line for the depth. Like I think Cox is most likely to end up on the practice squad because he's a solid run blocker and he's got all that athleticism and leverage. But that's a developmental swing guy, which they're desperately seeking since Quinn Bailey got injured last year during camp. And you said only one, so I'm going to go in that direction. I'd love for there to be a battle. I'd love for there to be somebody who really stands out. And I'm saying it's probably Webb, just given, what he's bringing and kind of how he lines up with what the Broncos need.
I was going to make a Powerade joke, but we're going to save that. I think you're right on path there. I do like Xavier Truss. I think his size, the patient, like there's a lot there, and I think they could probably mold that. Whether he's going to be, I don't know if he can play on the left side. I was taking a peek at Joe Machowski's numbers, his grades from Oklahoma State. Center, 6'5", 305. Pretty big dude.
That's good.
And for a center, if he can move, that's pretty good. I know that's probably an area where they're going to be looking like, you said Webb, but Webb also has versatility to play guard. So that's something that they desperately need. Could Machowski play guard? I don't know. I need to watch him move a little bit. But
I'm worried about some of them, though, with their lineup, with their speed against quicker defensive tackles, right? That's Truss's whole point is that, some of these guys really could fill in there, but are they ready to see the field?
Mm-hmm. And I think over the next year, probably 2 seasons, we're going to see them really, really targeting tackle with McGlinchey and Bowles potentially being on the outs. So wouldn't be surprised to see one of those guys kept around as like a development. They still have Palczewski. Who knows what they're going to do with Frank Crum. But I think there's some areas there where they definitely have some developmental traits. I'm going to say, though, the one that I agree with you. I think it is going to be an offensive lineman. But I would just love if this team kept Jerjuan Newton on the roster. I would absolutely love it because I spent some time last week really watching him, and I was like, man, this guy would be Lance Moore for Sean Payton. Like, this is the new version of Lance Moore. He's not not a burner, not super great speed, but he knows how to separate, runs really great routes. They used him in all sorts of different ways. They used him as a point in bunch formations. They gave him end arounds. They used him very well in the red zone. I was really shocked. Physical guy, can make all the contested catches, and he's not that big. His brother is Johnny Newton, who just got drafted by the Commanders last season, played at Illinois. Loved him. So the pedigree is there. I don't think that they end up keeping him just because of how the wide receiver room is now. But, man, he's a lot of fun. And he would be an awesome guy to have in this offense. And it would make me really happy. But I do think they're going to go in the direction of offensive line.
He's a little undersized for me. And I like the physicality, because if you play a lot bigger than you are, that speaks volumes on how you're able to really distinguish yourself. Yeah, exactly. I mean, we were talking about that before, but also reliability in pass catching. Like that's super underrated just in general. Like I want to point out, though, because I know this is going to speak to you, and this is kind of what's been on my mind as far as undrafted free agents go. The ability to make an impact on special teams is going to really delineate any sort of like hunches you have, right? Because anybody who can compete and elevate special teams has a leg up on everyone else. But the Broncos are stacked in their secondary, and you mentioned Kendall Bullard to start the show. Got to show some flashes in training camp, but that's somebody who stands out to me, who they could make the practice squad, or they could be like an early step in for special teams, depending on what Darren Rizzi sees out of him. So there's a lot of guys who probably aren't going to make the roster from this bunch of 12 or 13. But I think there's also the notion of, depending on how versatile you are, those are the winning formulas for having success, just specifically with Sean Payton and this Denver Broncos team, because of where their head is at, trying to complete the 3-point trifecta for a perfectly balanced football team. So that's what I'm hoping to see out of all of this, is who can play all the ways.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked about this in the draft recap episode of the value of guys like Quay Robinson coming in as a rookie, Caleb Lohner, him coming in. He's not going to start. He's not going to be the starting tight end week one, but he's going to have to get his reps on special teams. So I think it's such a valuable piece too, when you're looking at it. Not everybody can be a Chris Harris Jr. I'm looking at Kendall Bullard right now, 6 foot, 195. So pretty thick corner, allowed 77.6 NFL passer rating when thrown to, 58% catch rate. So there's something to love there on the defensive side, and 68 special team snaps last year, mostly on field goal. So that's where he's going to have to earn his money. That's where he's going to have to earn his spot. But I'm pretty intrigued as a whole by this group of UDFAs, because no running backs is certainly a choice. A lot of wide receivers. I think it's Courtney Jackson. It's Joaquin Davis.
Jackson? Oh, okay.
Joaquin Davis is like 6'4", 220. It's great, like crazy athlete. His numbers left a little bit to be desired, but I think there's an interesting vision that they're going for. And I think you're on the right path of, it's going to be special teams. They're looking for guys who can elevate the special teams unit and make an impact. I think we kind of forget that Trent Sherfield is here as well. And he's going to be a key special teamer too. So there's a lot of spots that are going to be battles, and it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot more difficult than, who's going to be wide receiver 4 of the Broncos this year? It's like, no, who's going to be the gunner on punt? Who are the 2 guys that are going to be fighting for that position, right? Who's going to be taking over for PJ Locke as the PP on punt team? Like that's what they're going to try and find out. And I think that they're bringing in talent to figure that out. A couple of these pieces seem like, maybe we could develop this guy into something on the offensive or defensive side, but I feel a lot of it is special teams.
pretty good for the worst roster in the NFL in 2024.
Yeah, pretty good for the worst roster. Now we're being called the best defense in the league.
Now we're being called waking up, national media.
Yeah, for real. Bri, this was a fun episode. I love talking undrafted free agents and wide receivers with you. It's so much fun. Next week, the NFL schedule will be released. We will be back to talk about the Broncos schedule. We already know there's going to be a London game. I'm very excited about it. I hope we could go. That would be crazy. But I'm really excited to see where the Broncos are going to play. Bri and I are going to be here to break down every game, the biggest matchups, all that stuff. Thank you so much for joining us, Bri. Any final words before we get out of here?
Sorry to all the Packers fans with the new Pope news. I'm sure that doesn't sit well at all, but someone had to be sacrificial.
What if the Pope had come out of the window and did the discount double check? Do you think it would have been crazy? This has been another episode of Believe in the Broncos. Thank you so much, everybody. Make sure you subscribe to the show on whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on. Make sure you follow Bri and myself on social media at Bri Maestas 303, at Patrick Chiotti. We will see you next time. Go Broncos.
Go Broncos.